Hi, and welcome back to Craft Along with Jay. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Yara, and I am so happy you could all join me today. Today's going to be a little bit different, but I am so excited to share with you what I've done today. I have three quick, well, not so quick, projects for you, and some of it is new to me, like this resin. I decided to give it a try, and this is my first time. And this resin I got off of Amazon, and the ratio is 1 to 1. So whatever I've used of the bottle in bottle A is the same amount I'm going to use from bottle B. And it's not by weight, it's by volume. So I'm just using my little measuring cup here, and I did 2 ounces of A, and I'm going to add 2 ounces of B. And then you're supposed to stir it for about 3 minutes. Trust me, I'm not going to show you the whole 3 minutes, just a little bit. But this is a learning process for me, so there's some do's and don'ts in this one. So we are learning together. And yes, I have all the safety precaution in place, but because it was my first time, I wasn't quite sure how this was going to go. I had my window open, I had the fan going, I got gloves on, I got a face mask on, and I had goggles on. So safety first. It all went well. But yeah, I went with all the recommendations that came in my little pamphlet. So here I'm just going to mix, and I had to mix for 3 minutes. And then once I've done that, we're going to start pouring. So I was trying to pour rather slow, but I did end up over pouring. But it's a quick fix for that I kind of learned along the way. And this mold is from IOD from the new release, and it's the Wreath and Swags, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. I ended up casting the whole thing because I had all that resin that I needed to use, and I ended up casting some other things on the side too, so I wasn't gonna waste what I had left over. But I'll use that, some other time. I have it done. So here I'm just gonna use my little popsicle stick just to help getting it into the little corners and stuff. So, um, but yeah, you'll see a little bit later. I end up over pouring. So lesson learned. Go a little bit slower and kind of let it sit for a minute just to see if it will kind of guide itself out to the corners. So I don't know if I had overpoured. I know I'm overpouring here. I don't know if you'll see it. So just take your time with it. Don't be impatient like I was, and I just kept pouring. But I'm learning as I go along, and it was a lot of fun. I will definitely do it again. I had a lot of fun with it, and it's really easy to do as well. You just gotta, follow the guidelines of your resin that you're using. So there we go. And you can see all my gear right here. I had it all on. Hey, I'm a rule follower. What can I say? And he had overpoured. So this is what they look like, the swags that I'm going to use. I have let them sit and cure for about 3 days now. They were soft when I demolded them the next day. They were soft, so that was easy to. When I had the overflow, I could easily break that off and not damage the whole thing. And I also used my X-Acto knife to cut some of it off. And then I let it sit and cure for a couple more days after that. So, once it's completely cured, you probably cannot break it off because it's hard. This is very hard right here. And here I'm going in with some waveless chalk paint in ivory, and I'm going to paint them both. And painting them here, you can really see the details of the molds coming out, and they're absolutely gorgeous. It's a little bit harder to see with the clear resin, but we're going to give it a base coat right here with the ivory, and I'm going to paint them both. I did not paint the back side because, clearly that's going to get glued down to a surface, so I just did the top and, the sides. And I'm just giving them each one coat of paint. You can see I'm almost done. Oh no, I am done. I'm giving I'm sorry. I'm giving it a coat of clear wax right here. Just make sure you get into all the grooves right here. But yeah, clear wax is what I'm doing right here, just to kind of seal that in before we're gonna dry brush some stuff on it. Then I got this wood round. I'm gonna paint. I painted the top in the color ivory by Waverly, just the top part. I had already waxed it, antique waxed it for previous project. So I'm reusing it, and I end up changing the ivory color to celery. You'll see this a little bit later because I don't think I showed you me painting it. So I'll just show you right here. It's just that top circle part. That's what I wanted to make sure I showed you. Not the sides and not the bottom, just that very top part. And I do change it to celery by Waverly as well. Yep, there you can see I did it. And then I'm going to give it a coat of Mod Podge. And I just use the antique Mod Podge. Then I have this Easter egg tree rub-on transfer from Amazon. I bought this a year or two ago. And I'm going to use that right in the middle. I put the swags on the side just to kind of guide me where I need to put it down. And then I'm just going to rub it with my fingers all the way around. And then I'm just going to lift it cover and then very gently pull it back to make sure I'm not pulling up any of the image right here, but it was smooth. No paint, no image came off. It just stayed. It was so easy. Then I'm just going over my finger just to make sure there's no loose edges. Then I'm going to go in with some antique wax and I'm going to just dry brush over my swag just to highlight the details of the flowers and the leaves. And I'm hoping you can get to see it right here, what the details kind of look like. Otherwise, you'll see it in a little bit later. And I dry brush both of them. And then I'm going to lay them back over, find out my placement, like so. And I'm going in with some um, Fix All adhesive. It's a super glue from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to add some of that to the back of my swags. Just like so. Then I'm going to gently lay it down, kind of where I want it. And this doesn't um, settle as quickly as hot glue, so you can maneuver it around if you don't get it down right the first time. I do end up kind of moving it around a little bit because I felt like I didn't have the right placement. But it takes a few minutes to kind of set. So there we go, and that's it for this one. I love how this one turned out. Let me know what you think about it. I love all the details and the colors and stuff, so I love it, and can't wait to put it up in my home. So let's move on to project number 2. I got this IOD mold. These are the tulips, and I've been so excited to use this one. I just love tulips. In the springtime, it's all about tulips and daffodils. Those are my two go-to flowers in the springtime. And I'm getting ready for spring. I'm ready. So yeah, I already prepped them with some baking soda, and I'm going in with my clay, and I'm going to cast the whole thing right here. I had some ideas what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure which ones I wanted to use and how many, and so I just went ahead. I had a good time, so I just went ahead and did the whole thing. It'll dry and I can use it in a future project, so it's all good. I just love working with clay. I find it very relaxing. It's just very satisfying, especially when you demold them and kind of see the results and all the details and stuff. It's just so amazing. And here I'm just making sure I'm pressing it down really well. And if I have to use more than one piece to get the whole thing covered, I make sure that I smooth it out so that it connects really well. So when you demold them, it's not two pieces coming out. So you can just use your finger to do that. It's quite easy to do. And I'm just going across the edges, so kind of press off the excess clay that I'm not going to use, and then, to make sure it's like a smooth bottom. And also, when you press it down to make sure that, the image and the details will show once you take them out of the molds. And I think I'll show you in regular setting, when I demold them, you can kind of see what they look like. Here, I've got it sped up. so you can kind of see some of the tulips and the leaves. So you have options of how you can put them together. And if you want to make a bouquet, you can do that too. You just have to, cast a couple more of, whichever flowers you want. If you want to mix them up, the possibilities are endless. I'm working away. Here, I'm just going to loosen them up a little bit by kind of popping the sides, and here it goes. Oh, just wait till you see these. Aren't they gorgeous? Oh, I just love tulips, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on this mold. So there we go. We got all our tulips done. Making sure it's all connected nicely. And then I'm going to let this sit and dry overnight. It's not fully dry the next day, but it's not all wobbly, so it's a bit easier to kind of work with. Um, since I'm going to paint them separate from the surface I'm going to attach it to. And here I got a bunch of colors out because I wasn't quite sure. I had to visually look at the colors to decide how I was going to do my tulips. But I went with pink. My options were pink, yellow, or purple, and I had 3 shades of each. And I ended up going with the pink, but it would definitely be gorgeous in any color that you did. So if you have a different color that you would prefer, you can definitely go ahead and do that. And here I used the darker pink for the outside of the petals, and then I go in with a lighter color pink for the inside of the petals. And I here for the darker one, I think it's Eminent Rose. And on this tulip on the inside is ballet slippers. And on the other tulips, it's the same paint on the outside. On the inside, I use cameo paint just to give it a little bit of a variation. And then I use burnt umber for those little, I don't know what they call, what do they call those little seed thingies in the middle of the tulip? The little, they can be black, dark brown, or like a really deep purple. I went with burnt umber for that. And then I used Kelly green to paint the stems and the leaves. And then I went in and mixed the Kelly green with some plaster to make it lighter, almost like a mint green, just to give my leaves and my stems a little bit more dimension, more than one color to it. And I like how that turned out. I think I'm going to show you, yep, a close up here, kind of what that looks at. Just gives it a little bit more dimension, a little bit more life to it. And I love how that turned out. And here you can see in the other tulip, I have already, the inside is the cameo pink. So it's a slight different, lighter pink than the other one. And then when I put that to the side to dry, I got this wooden Easter egg from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to paint that with Waveless Chalk paint and silver lining. I'm just giving it one good coat. And then once that's completely dry, I'm going to give it a nice good coat of the crackle medium that I got at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to shake it up, and then I'm going to pour some out onto my egg. And then I'm going to just spread that around, get a good coverage all over. And then once I've done that, I'm going to let it sit and dry. If you watched my previous video, I wasn't patient enough to let it dry long enough. It was still quite tacky. This time, I followed the rules and let it completely dry. So there we go. Now I'm gonna give it a coat of, I think it's ivory, waveless chalk paint and ivory. And I'm trying not to give too many strokes on top of each other. I guess the less is more, and I didn't go a heavy coat on here because I wanted, quite a bit of crackle to go through. So just one coat, a little bit on the lighter side. And then you'll see, um, you can already kind of see some of the crackle down here at the bottom of your screen. Some of the crackling has started to come through. But I'll let it sit for a while and then let it do its thing. And here you can see the crackling. Look at that. Perfect. Exactly what I was looking for. Then I picked out the two tulips that I'm going to use, and now I'm going to figure out the placement. So I'm playing around with it for a little bit right here. Kind of like this look right here, but I ended up going for a different look. But you can play around with it. It's just hard to get, because of the shape of the eggs, it's just hard to get the leaves on here. But I really wanted that, at least that smaller one on, just to have, give it a little bit extra. The bigger ones were definitely not going to work unless you had a much bigger surface to work with. So I'm just kind of playing around with it, kind of figuring out, what was going to work for me and how it was going to look at the end. So there was kind of something like this that I decided that I liked. Then I'm going in with my X-Acto knife, and I kind of made a little bit of a line where the leaves were going to be, so that way both both pieces could be flush on the surface. Nothing is going to wobble or lay on top of each other. So I just used my X-Acto knife. The clay is not completely dry. It was dry enough that you can handle it. It's not going to break, and I could easily cut through here using my X-Acto knife. So that really worked out well. Because I'm going to lay it down right here, and then remember how I did my placement right here. I was struggling a little bit, but I got it worked out. And once I got to that point, I'm going to go in with some Type Bond multi-surface glue, and I'm going to cover all the pieces all over the back side of it. And I used a brush so that way you have less leakage when you press it down. And then I'm just going to glue it down the way I had it laid out. Just like so. And that's going to be it for this one. No, it's not. I'm sorry. I do go around with the silver lining, and I'm going to distress it around the edges, just on the egg. And then that's it for this one. Let me know what you think about this one as well. I love this one. I just love tulips. Look at that. Isn't it pretty? Love it, love it, love it. So let's move on to project number 3. Here we're going to cast some more. And this is also one of the new molds from IOD. And I did about 5 of the eggs. And I did one of the bunnies, the one that's laying down. I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I just wasn't quite sure how many eggs I needed. So I went ahead and just did 5. I ended up using 3, but that's okay. We can use the other 2 in a future project. I did all the casting of the clay in one evening, and it was just so relaxing. I really enjoyed it. Just went for it. And here I'm pressing it down with the palm of my hand just to make sure I get all the details of the eggs. Look at that. Then I'm just going around the edges. If there's any clay that's kind of sticking out, I just kind of push it in very gently. And I ended up using a skewer stick as well. Then the next day, I'm going to go in and paint them. I painted one of them with ballet slipper. I did one with French lilac, and another one I mixed French blue with some either plaster or ivory and made a lighter blue. And once I've done that, while they're drying, I'm going to paint my little bunny with ivory by Waverly. And then I'm going to go in with some rub and buff. I think this is gold leaf. And I'm going to highlight the details of my eggs, those little raised areas, the designs. So I'm going to go over with a very fine tip brush and cover that with rub and buff. And I do that to all 3 eggs. showing you quite a bit of this. I guess I want to show you like how it comes to life. It really does turn out so pretty. I know I'm not going to show you all three, I can promise you that. But yeah, you see how it comes to life with these details? They're absolutely gorgeous. And if you don't like rub and buff, you can certainly dry brush it with even with ivory. That would look really nice. This is just what I chose to do. And you can paint the eggs any colors that you want as well, like the base coat. It's totally up to your preference. This is just what I liked. So while that's drying, I'm going to go in with some antique wax by Waverly. And I had already covered my little bunny with some clear wax and let it dry. And then I'm going to water down my um, antique wax. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint my bunny. Cover it all up. And then I'll wipe it back once I'm done. And then I go ahead and wipe it back. And I keep wiping back until, I'm kind of happy. And I think I add a little bit of water to my paper towel just to get some more off. But I wanted to highlight the little details and stuff. You can see that it's a bunny. And I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Look at that bunny. He is good looking. So here we go with the clay again. I'm going to do that border that I pointed to at the top. And I think I did 5, but I only need 4. Then I'm going to use this little wood plank from Hobby Lobby. It was part of the Christmas section and I got it 90% off. So what's it, $2.49, 90%. So yeah, you can't beat that price. Then I'm lining up my little borders right here. And then once I have it and I make sure it fits, I'm going to use my Type Bond Quick and Thick multi-surface glue. And I'm just going to paint that to the back of my clay. And then I'm going to put that right back down onto the wood plank. And I do that all the way around with all 4 pieces. And I'm just very gently kind of tapping it down and making sure it's lined up straight along the edge. And then once that has set and dried for a little bit, that's what it looks like. Then we're going to start putting it all together. Oh, no, not quite yet. I guess we're going to paint first. I'm going to paint the border with, with celery. And then once that's dry, I'm going to go with my rub and buff and I'm going to highlight the X's and the little ovals in between the X's all the way around my border. And I'll show you here in a second what that looks like. So there we go. You can kind of see the X's and the ovals. I'm going to highlight those with my rub and buff all the way around. So I think I did the X's first. Then once I'd done all those, I went back in and did the ovals. Yeah, and you can see right here, I did the ovals. And then after this, we're going to put it together. I promise. So, yep, that's what it looks like. I kind of like that combination of the rub and buff and the celery. And here I have it all lined up the way I want it. And now we're going to glue it down with that Type Bond glue. And I'm going to spread it around all the way around on the back sides. Make sure I get to the corners. We want to make sure everything is adhering. I do the same to the eggs. Now that I'm looking at it here, I like the way the bunny turned out, but while I was working with it, I decided he was a little bit too yellow. So I went in and just gave it a little bit more of the, I think, ivory right here. I'm pretty sure it's ivory. and then I wiped it back. So I didn't do a complete coat, but I just went over it and just, so now you can see all three colors. But the details from the antique wax is still there, and that was the most important part. And that's what it looks like. I just added some jute twine. I said, hang on, that's it for this one. I love this one. Look at the details. Oh my goodness. Love it, love it, love it. Let me know what you think about this one as well. And now we're going to take a look at all three things that we made today. That was a lot. It was a lot of drying time in between, you know, casting the resin and the clay and the painting, but I just love how it all turned out. It was so worth it. Let me know what you think about these and which one was your favorite. And if you made it all the way to the end of the video with me, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And don't forget, if you like what you've seen and you want to see more, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and hype my video. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by. Until next time.